We always like the idea that, yes, it's a horror movie, but if you stripped away all the scares, that the emotion would still play.
I'll just kick things off with a couple of questions myself, and then I'll open it up to you guys. But André, I wonder if you could start by telling us about the kind of making of the film. I mean, this seems like the polar opposite to Trollhunter, your last film, which is in the kind of wild expanses of the outdoors. This is a very claustrophobic, kind of insular film. Can you talk about the kind of production?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say, I don't know if anybody realized, but this is all shot here in London. On a stage, or actually a warehouse, Bromley by Bow. We built a magnificent set by Matt Gant. God, you're here somewhere as well. Yeah, there you are. And we shot everything interior there, and it was obviously it was an amazing experience for me to be able to work with these fantastic actors in such a confined space where everything is about the performance and just the details of the story rather than the madness of Trollhunter, which was, yeah, as you said, very expansive. Yeah.
Fred and Rory, I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about the kind of production. What were some of the challenges that you guys faced in setting something in such a kind of small, enclosed space?
It was super easy, actually. Small movies is really, really easy filmmaking. No, actually, it was challenging on a low budget to create, from the first day we met André and sort of signed on, and he said, I need a lot of days and I need the whole set to be one continuous real space, not a series of rooms that we keep redressing, and it was the best thing we ever did because we were allowed to shoot the film in sequence. So on a Tuesday, we'd shoot page 8, and then wherever we got to, Wednesday we were on to page 9. So if we were in the autopsy room and they were brought out, we would shoot the next scene and then come back in the autopsy room, as opposed to compressing the scenes as you're obligated to do when you're facing a real movie. So there were both enormous challenges to building a set of that scale on a very low set of resources, but it ultimately proved incredible for the filmmaking itself and also for the actors to be able to live the movie day by day and sort of go through the journey of the film. So the challenges were outweighed by the advantages, I'd say. And
a lot of thinking went into that morgue and the design of it, and credit to André and to Matt Gant, production designer, for creating that. Morgue in film and television is actually quite a well-known place. It's quite a clear genre. So we didn't want it to be too familiar, but also to be reasonably familiar. So we were constantly on that line, and it needed to be scary, but it needed to be homely. That's the house above it, and yet this is a horror film in the basement. So, and it needed to be a bit retro as well, which added to that. So, and to do that on a budget in a warehouse in East London is not easy. But I think that's one of the main things that really works that the guys pulled off.
Ian and Richard, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the origins of this story and how the story kind of evolved and how close it is to what ended up on screen.
You want to take that?
I mean, completely autobiographical, obviously. We write what we know. Except in real life, Richard's Jane Doe and I'm Stanley the cat. No, I mean, how did we? I mean, there.
I think, just the kernel of the idea was to do a very contained movie that was all about the investigation into a body. And so we had that, and then we were like, okay, what's the story that can envelop this?
And we, quickly locked on to, we both really liked the idea of centering it around a father and a son relationship. And our goal was that as they were cutting deeper into Jane Doe, there was also sort of a emotional autopsy, for lack of a better way of putting it. So Tommy and Austin were discovering secrets about each other as the night went on, and yeah, we always liked the idea that yes, it's a horror movie, but if you stripped away all the scares, that the emotion would still play. And
we also really wanted to do a movie where hopefully the thing that you're the most scared of the entire time hardly ever moves. So that was kind of the rule that we had when we were writing it. And so.
Olwen, I wonder if I could ask you, I've never kind of known a film where a corpse has such a presence in a film, so much kind of sense of, there's such a sense of performance in your role. Can you talk about how you worked with André and how you kind of achieved that?
Well, I mean, it was essentially just trying to be really, really calm and let everything else go on around me, and trying not to interrupt the other actors was really my main goal.
That's very humble.
Did André give you any kind of specific direction other than stay still?
Yeah, I mean, certainly eyeline. No, not really.
I mean,
It's incredible, the sense of kind of menace, though, the sense of kind of atmosphere and presence that you get from Jane. I mean, was it kind of, what were the challenges for you as a director in that aspect?
I mean, in a way, we have to keep her moving through the story. You know, we're constantly repositioning her head in relation to the camera so that sometimes she feels like a victim in the way she's presented, in the way we shoot her, and sometimes she feels powerful. It all depends on where we want that to happen in the scene. So a lot of thought and activity went into that, and also finding new ways to film her and make her really a part of a triangle of characters in the scene, while she's still not doing anything. It was very important to empathize with her and to really feel what she'd clearly gone through. So it was a lot of challenges involved in that.
But from quite early on, you know, as producers, we, you know, looked at it and thought, well, should we just get a prosthetic body to be Jane Doe? You know, that's going to be a lot simpler, and we can cut it up and we can do whatever we like. And André was quite insistent, you know, that it needed to be an actress. And when he saw, or when he thought, you know, he was insistent, this is who I want. So I think what does come through, despite the fact, as you say, it's somebody lying still for the whole time, is actually a great deal of thought that went into the look, the performance, and there's something about that performance which is almost impossible to put your finger on because she was static the entire time. But it is there, and it was there in the thinking from the beginning, and it shows on the screen.
I mean, I did take everything very personally that was done to me, in terms of what was done to Jane, not to me. So I guess I was thinking about it in some sense.
We can't really take credit for the bell because we did a lot of research into coroners and the history of all of that, and when we came across that story, we were just like, this is the most incredible story. We have to find a way to kind of implement it. So yeah, the story that Brian tells in the movie is true.
And the bell was one of the first scares we knew. We were like, no matter what else, the bell has to go in the movie somehow. So the whole movie was really written around how to get the bell gag in there. But no, it was early on. We all got really excited about it, and it was yeah.
It was definitely a balancing act. We had to be like honest and show the process at the same time as not to be gratuitous and gory in a way. So there was definitely a thought process there, from the screenplay to the prep to production, and obviously in the editing we have more gory stuff on the editing room floor, but we decided to keep it off because the movie isn't about that. It's about the process and the story. So we didn't want to detract from the storyline.
What I'll just say is the script actually had, the front page said, the script is not at all about gore and Autopsy is graphic, but please don't think that the pleasure of this film or the thrill of it has anything to do with the gore or the cracks. And as André said, there's a certain authenticity. You know, not only the bell is real, but we spent 2 days in the LA County morgue with the chief coroner of Los Angeles, where every celebrity death autopsy has happened, and really meticulously investigated every detail, and we really wanted that authenticity to come through. So to a certain extent, you can't make a film about an autopsy and not show that. However, to us, it's more, the thrill is the Sherlock Holmes story of a father and son investigating these clues and the mystery and the tension of that. So hopefully that balance worked for you, but that was a constant debate we obviously had.
I can start with my take on that. I had a call with my casting director, and I described the character and who she was, and she immediately said, "I know exactly who you need. She lives right next door to me." That is true. And she was the first one I met, and we just had a meeting in an office, and we just talked about the role and what it entailed in every way. And I knew as she walked out, she was the one. I met tons of others afterwards, but she was always clearly the one.
Olwen, did you have any kind of reservations about taking on this part?
Before I met André, I was told there would be nudity, which I think, as a model or an actress, you straight away you want to know what the project is. And then just from meeting André, I knew that those reservations could disappear, basically. And then I was just happy to move forward.
Yeah, I guess. Well, if you tell enough people to go and see it, eventually you can actually make it happen.
We wanted the sense that they were old and that there was like a ritualistic element to them, but because we didn't want to give away the whole mystery, we didn't want to be too specific about what they were pointing toward, and we thought that was actually scarier if you're not exactly sure what they mean, but you know that they are part of us, are part of something that's outside our understanding.
I mean, we didn't want to answer, every single question by the end of the movie. I always prefer films where many of the questions are answered, but then you're left with a sense of, there's stuff that they didn't explain that I can kind of dive into myself. So.
He was in the wrong vent.
For us, I think there was a little of, what did Stanley do, but what did Jane do? So again, it goes back to kind of her wanting to make everyone else feel the way that she felt. So Stanley did really nothing.
But I think...
He did hiss at me, though.
Except for that.
I mean, I think, as it shows in the film, Stanley's a emotional reminder of Austin's mother and Tommy's wife, and it's just sort of a symbol of her. And when he dies, it brings that emotion to the surface for them that's been sort of bubbling for years, and it finally comes to a head. So
it's a way. I mean, it's a way for Jane to attack Tommy and Austin. Well, to kind of try as hard as we could to maximize kind of the horror there and use, really kind of creative ways to gross you guys out.
I think the question's really like, what's wrong with you guys?
A lot.
We'd be here a long
time. I'm afraid we are out of time, though. But guys, thank you so much. I can't think of a better film for the Cult Gala this year. Thank you all for coming tonight.